Khalid Ajmain.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh everyone. Peace be upon you. MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. Welcome back to Real Talk with Khalid Ajmain podcast after such a long hiatus. And I'm so happy today we have a special guest. On my right, I have brother Hanis, who is a volunteer at Sout Ilaahi. How are you, Hanis, today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, you have a good DJ voice, mashallah. Yeah. So on my left is also my partner, not partner in crime, but my partner in life and everything that I do. Mashallah, she's very supportive and always there for me. She's none other than my beautiful and beloved wife, sister Ainun, Harun.
Alright, hi everyone.
I think she's still in the mood for something new today. So we tried something new today with the podcast. So Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for this after such a long hiatus. So today our topic is about loneliness. So what is actually loneliness, right? So we're going to unpack this. We're going to have a interesting, insightful conversation, especially living in Singapore, right? So I think I begin with Hanis first lah. Since you are a young man, how old are you?
26 this year.
26
Sorry,
this year.
27.
27. You forget your date also. InsyaAllah. So Alhamdulillah, it's good to have you here so that we can discuss about this important topic with various age group. Right? So Hanis, what is your take on loneliness? What is your view on loneliness? And have you been lonely throughout your 27 years?
Of course. Okay, that's the thing. To me, right, loneliness, there are different stages. Kan?
Okay.
I mean, when I was in secondary school, when I was in poly, we have cliques. We do things together. We go bubble tea together. We makan together. Everything we do together. But once you go through NS, you meet new people. And the loneliness starts after NS. To me, it starts after NS.
Why is it after NS?
Because that's where you have to find, that's where like things get real.
What you mean by real? I mean macam you can still have, you can cling on to your NS friends or your secondary school friends or poly friends. You went to poly, right?
Yeah, poly.
Yeah. So what was the difficult part for you then?
Because something happened to me. After NS, during NS actually, I was admitted in the hospital.
What happened? If you can share.
It's something to do with my kidney, which
Your lot issue.
I mean, so I was admitted for 4 to 5 days. So, and because of that, I was out of the normal training from NS. So that itself is loneliness to me, because you were doing well in NS, you met the new friends and all that, and suddenly this happened, and they call it out of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, out of course.
So you have to recourse, right? They call it.
Recourse, yeah, that's right. So I have to extend my NS for another 1 month, and yeah. So basically, like I was put through different things that makes me feel lonely. Like even then, when I was admitted in hospital, I so-called expected my family to be there. Yeah, and I didn't understand that maybe I wanted them to visit me more and all that.
So you begin to realize like everybody's busy, yeah,
Everybody's busy. That's right.
and you feel lonely.
That's right.
So it's interesting. I mean, we all have that experience. I say interesting because I also went through that phase. I did not have any accident at that age, but I also have that phase where after NS, I have many friends. As you know that I was from the hardcore scene, punk scene, the subculture scene lah. And so we used to hang out and all that. It's just that after NS, my life began to change drastically. Also, I do not know. There was a void in me. Some of my NS friends was also bringing me to clubbing, like enjoy life lah. But then it wasn't meant for me. And I felt like, what's happening to me? I mean, this is serious. I didn't know that until my father passed away. That was like 4 years later. It was interesting journey lah. How about you, Ainun? I mean, let's unpack this. Like, have you ever been lonely?
I think because I'm very, very, very introvert. So I actually prefer to be by myself a lot. And I think it's a bit different. It doesn't mean I don't like to mix with people, but it just means that I don't like to mix as much as a lot of other people. So loneliness to me is something. Actually, I feel very comfortable being alone. So for me, it's a bit different lah, I would say.
Sorry to cut you out lah. But just asking, you say you're introvert. Then because of your introversy, I don't know if that's your word, introversy. Yeah. You said that being alone is okay, is fine, right? So how do we differentiate then? Sometimes we see like people want to be alone because they went through abuse or they went through mockery. I think a lot of people went through that phase where, my friend mocked me because of my looks, example. And it's normal, people when they have insecurity, they will mock you also. And this is something that we don't realize, like body shaming, or you're not good enough, or you don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend, or you don't hafal Quran even. I came to across someone young who said that I feel left out because I'm not good enough in memorizing Quran. So different circle, different expectation kan. So how about you then? I mean, what you see on this situation?
I think in such a situation, like there's different levels of loneliness. I mean, there's different types of loneliness. I think sometimes if people isolate themselves for those reasons, then it doesn't mean that they like the loneliness itself. It's just that they have not found companions who they can hang out with. And I think it's normal for people to want companionship, because everyone needs companionship, even for very introvert people. So I'm like the extreme end of introversion. So that's why I'm comfortable with being alone most of the time. But I think for many people, companionship is so important because you need someone to talk to about your problems in life. So it is very, very human to be lonely. And in fact, in psychology, they say that introvert people are very weird. So and there's something wrong with them. So in the Western perspective, companionship is something very normal and very much needed.
But then it's also different between, people have this idea where if you want to be alone, that means you have depression or you have anxiety. How do your own experience, how do you differentiate then between all this? And this is for people who are listening to our podcast, right? So that they know and understand that there are people who are introvert, which is normal. There are people who trying to find the right group, support group, where I don't want to be with these friends anymore because I grew up or I spiritually inclined. And also people who have depression or anxiety. This is something that we completely don't understand in our society today, isn't it?
I think that is true because a lot of people with depression or anxiety actually try to isolate themselves. So to tell the difference actually is to look at your emotion and whether it's a positive thing when you're alone, whether you're happy, whether you are more anxious. and whether you know there are symptoms to depression and anxiety. So if you have them, that is not the same like being alone that the scholars in Islam they talk about. It's not the same thing, because that is when you have depression or anxiety, the isolation is actually bad for you, because you feel like you want to isolate yourself
Completely lah.
completely. But then it is bad for you because it actually brings you down further. Like you don't want to go out of your room, you just stay in bed, do those kind of things. So that is actually bad for you mentally, as well as in many other ways.
Yeah. So this is something that like I mentioned earlier, like society don't really understand between people who are normal, macam they like, okay, I want to be alone because I'm an introvert, rather than people then who has this depression and anxiety, or I call it emotional turmoil. I think we need to learn and understand to understand the differences, and to give support to such people is to really understand this knowledge, isn't it? So that we are aware the reality of someone going through, not just using our experience to determine what they are going through. So Hanis, are you introvert?
I mean, if one of the baseline of knowing who's introvert, if it means that your energy is draining when you are out with people, then maybe you're introvert. So that's me.
You sure?
Yeah, I cannot be long term outside with friends. I'll be.
So will you regard that as anxiety or it's not?
It's hard
let's open talk. I know,
yeah.
like it's not going to be a completely straightforward answer.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to just determine here. I mean you need a professional assessment, but just to say like based on that alone, you cannot determine that it is anxiety or introversion, because for introverts it's actually whether you feel drained or you feel more energy when you talk to other people. There's two different types of people lah. So based on that alone, it's more of introversion lah. But of course, you look at there's a lot of other signs and symptoms of anxiety that you need to look at.
So okay, I want to ask you a question. Since you know me for 15 years, am I introvert or not?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Oh my god.
Because it's a matter of whether you get energy, like energized when you are out with people. So and whether it depletes very fast. Like for introverts, depending on how introvert you are, it depletes quite fast, and you can tell. Like you just want to, it's time for me to go back.
But I think it also depends on who you are with, right?
Yeah, of course. But the funny part is I was talking to my friend also. She was saying like sometimes it even happens with the spouse. So yeah, it depends on who you're with. Like for example, the spouse probably you have a longer.
So are you trying to referring to me? Am I dragging you away?
Yeah, but yeah lah, it depends on people, and then also I think there's a lot of factors in it.
Yeah. So Hanis, I just want to ask you, you're talking about your introvert, so you enjoy not going out with me?
That's why I asked the question. Does it depend on the people you're with? Because alhamdulillah, so far with you guys I'm okay, but as you grow older, you detach from certain people.
He's talking on podcast, and then
But yeah, you know who you are.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's interesting actually, right? I think my understanding on loneliness changed when I met the late Syed Zakaria. Not fully, but I saw macam when I start to do wirid, right, suddenly the whole world begin to shift. And then I look at my late mother. My late mother, she always alone at home. Alone, because she's a full-time housewife. So after that, when my father passed away, she's still alone at home. And I don't see her depressed. No. So different people different, like what I said. And the interesting part is, she always do zikir. She will sit on the chair and zikir and zikir. Sometimes she wake up early in the morning, like 3 a.m. she will do tahajud. Then she will do her lazim or her zikir is just Ya Latif. That's it, Ya Latif. And it's interesting because when I look into it, like macam how come my mother don't feel janggal lah, macam awkward or something not right. Sometimes my elder sister also will say to her like, you know, come out lah, go out with us lah, have dinner lah. But she like, no, we didn't spend time at home because we were working at that time. And then after that, me and my sister, we have our own activity lah. We went to class, religious classes and all that. And my mother, of course, she loved what I'm doing. Because, you know, being a rascal and rebellious son. And then when I start to go zikir and majlis zikir, start to be in tariqah actively, and also when I start to learn religious knowledge and all that, she like supportive, like go it's okay. So sometimes we come back home. Last time we got Grab and all that kan. So sometimes we get home like 12 midnight. Very far. We always in the east. Right? And I live in the north, Sembawang at that time. Right? So it's interesting. So I go to Ainun first, my wife. So what do you think about Islam view on loneliness? But I felt that Sufism had changed me a lot in understanding loneliness. And even the Prophet ﷺ, if you look at it, there's a time that he wants to be alone also. I mean, besides that, the time that he received the Wahyu revelation, but also there are times we read in the hadith where he alone, like zikir and so on. So do you think, I mean, okay, before I go into that, what is your view in your own experience, in your own journey, Islam and loneliness?
I think it's important. I think people forget about, in Islam there's such a thing as, you sort of isolate yourself to do ibadah. And this I think is very important. We tend to do this only in Ramadan, like let's say tahajud, during Ramadan. And then we forget. And tahajud itself is isolation, It's like being alone. You have to sit alone. And somehow because of the life we have today, like I felt like social media and all, where we are always being connected, we are exposed to information. So we feel very awkward with being alone. But in fact, a lot of the Sufis and the scholars and awliya, they spend a lot of time in isolation. I mean, not all the time lah, as you see.
That's why I said that there is a time for it lah.
Yeah.
There's a time to be alone with Allah and a time for dunya.
Yeah. So I think it's very important because I think even when I was younger, when I was going through some life challenges, I actually took time off to spend time alone at the mosque. And there was nobody at the mosque because it was working hours. So there was nobody at the mosque. So it's totally quiet. And so I just spend time there, sit down. Sometimes I'm doing zikir, sometimes I'm just reflecting or reading Quran. That helps me to, to go through, to think about what to do and all that. So people don't do that anymore. I mean, people don't isolate themselves to reflect, to do zikir. It seems awkward. And I remember when we were at Luxembourg, right? With Syahmie.
Yeah.
I remember we were just sitting down and everyone was talking, having a good time, chit-chatting. And suddenly Syahmie said, okay, let's sit down and do 12,000
Ya Latif.
Ya Latif. Was it Ya Latif or
Yes.
was it the Selawat?
Oh,
Latif.
12,000 Ya Latif and then 12,000 Salawat.
Yang 12,000. Yes.
And then he said that everybody do on your own. It's not sharing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not like how we usually do. We say Allah Akbar, we clap, right?
Yeah.
Because one person had done, so it counts as one. No, this one.
1% 12,000.
Yeah. So that, you know, suddenly from everybody chit chatting, suddenly we are all sitting down and quiet. Everyone is quiet. We are sitting together, but then all of us are actually doing zikir. So that was a very important. I think that was an important lesson. I feel like I do not know why she did that. Like all of a sudden, while we were all like laughing and all that, and then suddenly he made us stop, and then we all had to do zikir. But that was a good practice because actually that is in our religion, no? You as much, even for extroverts, for example, as much as you have companion and you laugh and you have fun, there is a essential need for isolation, for you to be quiet and for you to focus on Allah or, you know, reflect.
Yeah, I think that sums up on me lah, because he said I'm not introvert, so I do spend a lot outside at my home, a lot before even I went to. I mean, when I changed myself in trying to understand lah, but that leads me, you know, trying to know who I am, because I felt that emptiness. Even though I was in the music scene, I was playing in a band, I was having a recording label, organized gig and all that, but it still somehow shift me. Macam, is there something that I do not know about myself? And I realized that when I was young, when I was like 16 above, I really like to hang out. I like to hang out, and I don't like to be alone. I like to hang out, so I will meet like all my music friends. Maybe at Plaza Singapore, or Plaza Singapore, or is it at Forum, or any part, you know. Sometimes I go to TNT, the jamming studio. But then it hits me at certain times, like, where you going? And is this what you're looking for? And interesting, my wife was talking about Syahmie, asking us to do that zikir, right? Do you think that we need someone to nurture us to be okay when we are alone through the zikir? Because everybody say I do zikir. You know, I do zikir, what? But I still feel something missing. What do you think? Do we need someone to nurture our soul, or we think that because everybody think like I know everything because there's social media, and social media is not like Shane, we said social media is not knowledge, it's information. Whatever that you read is information. Knowledge is a transmission from one person to another, whether it's a teacher or friends. You know, when you have the light, like Imam Malik said that knowledge is not a memorization of the knowledge. It is the illuminating of the heart, because it becomes you. Kan? So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, struggle in that. So what do you think?
I think that you do need a guide in everything, because if you do something alone, then you do not know, even if you read or you hear from someone, but then for you to actually experience it, you need someone to guide you through it. Not necessarily to ask questions all the time. Like I think people feel like, okay, the more question I ask, I can, everything that I experience, I must.
It's like Q&A kind of thing. Like, okay, Shay, how do, Ustaz, how do we, then after that we get the answer, we thought that we know.
Yeah, so it doesn't work that way. Like, I think for a guide, like, the transmission is both through talking and also spiritually. So you need someone to guide you in that way lah. Because like you won't even know like, okay, how many to do or what do you need, because there's so many different zikir as well. It's not like pick and choose.
I think because partly due to social media we already in the age of self-help thing. Right, self-help, like I know what I need to do and this is what I will do. But at certain times we don't realize that we're dealing with our soul, isn't it, Hanis?
Yeah, that's true.
So what is your transition then? How you deal with your loneliness when you say that, oh, when I was in a hospital, I thought like my family will come, but they didn't. Were you angry?
I did. I was.
Okay,
I was
that's
angry.
interesting.
Because so I just gonna put it out there. Like previously, my brother was admitted in the hospital, and then, but when he was admitted in the hospital, you know, the family members came and all that. But when it was me, like no one came and no one visited. So I was angry. But then I realized that, you know, everyone is busy. You know, they have their own life. They have kids. They have work. And my mom cannot travel from the home to the hospital. So that it takes time for me to understand that and be content with it. You know? Yeah.
So I mean, from that moment to now, is there any significant changes in understanding this loneliness?
To understand this loneliness, what I remember was at that moment when I was admitted, I told my dad, because I was admitted around 3 or 4 a.m. Then I remember the first thing I asked was, Pa, can you bring for me the Quran? Yeah. So something in me told me that, you know what, since you are going to be admitted, you're going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
Why not you just spend the time reading the Quran?
Okay, mashallah.
Yeah.
Then how is it evolved then today? When you look at the moment and now, how do you find loneliness then? Does your state change, your emotion change when you say, okay, I can be alone now? We know that you are alone. So you find being alone? Why is it then?
I mean, you guys know me. I watch movies alone and all that, you know. But I think I remember the hikam of Shaykh Ibn Attillah. Yeah, he was saying, when you find yourself being alone from the creations and all that, it means that Allah opens up the door of intimacy with Him. So that itself is to nurture my soul, you know, to know that, okay, I should be spending time with Allah, doing my wirid, doing my lazim, and to nurture and to have that strong relationship with Allah.
So slowly you develop that you also have wirid and all that.
Yeah.
Does it help you?
It does. It helps me to detach from things, you know,
Inshallah.
and to slow down. Because I know we're living in a very fast-paced country. Like, after this, what are you going to do? After this, where are you going to go?
So does zikir and the salawat that you do every day, your daily wirid, helps you, or you have more? Like you need a guide, or you need the right kind of friends? Because some people also say, right, I do zikir but I still feel empty. I do zikir then I still feel lonely. How about you then? You're young and it's interesting to learn from you lah, kan?
Okay, definitely you need a guide. You need a guide and you need good companions. Yeah, because they have been walking the path before you and long before you, you know. So they know certain things that you don't, and they teach you with their wisdoms and insights. And you need the guide to show you where to go, you know, to tell you that, hey, keep walking, it's okay. Because sometimes we fall, right? As humans, we fall and all that. But the guide will tell you it's okay, keep pushing, keep going, keep walking, you know. So they make you not like lose hope or despair.
In other words, it's like your wirid and your zikir is not the destination.
It's not a destination.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Right? So our heart is travelling.
That's right.
And I begin to realize, I don't know whether I know you feel that way, like in every moment of your trigger, right? When you do zikir, your moment of your trigger, you feel restless. I'm restless. I introvert. Extrovert. Introvert or extrovert?
Ultraman.
Right? So my first experience, right, of this is, Kat was talking about Luxembourg, right? I would tell you Medina Bay. When I was in Medina Bay, for those who do not know, Medina Bay, Senegal. So after finish Fajar, Syahmie will do the wirid alone, right? I mean, even though it's in masjid, but he will do on himself alone. And that is the profound moment in my life. Like when I saw like, wow, he's doing it alone. No. Kan selalunya people will read together like you know, I mean ada which is good. But lazim you have to read alone. So from there it's like mind blowing for me lah. Really, because I was like, I never had that kind of situation, even though I was following different Sufi path. And I didn't realize that even on my sheikh who passed on before that, they can be alone. And that's why I didn't realize that I can be alone because of them. You know, because after solat they just sit one kind, like a certain way, the tahiyat akhir, they just continue doing their wirid. And I was like, wow. And I only begin to realize with Syahmie. And you know what? I was struggling because I'm an introvert, right? So where everybody was like doing their own, then I was like, okay, I mean, I do lazim at home. But now it's like you have to sit. It's like, and then the tarbiyah you add on, right? Then I like after I finish my lazim, then I got phone, right? Then I like look. Syahmie doesn't even do that like that. But that was a turning point for me. But it's very difficult, and that is where I begin to realize lah, like how you need to, like what my wife said, like detachment. And detachment is something that is not outward, is the inward. Your hal, your nafs, your emotions. And that's where I begin to learn. And you know what? And that was not only the turning point in my understanding of Sufism and Sufi path like Tariqah, but that was also to understand my soul and my being. In a way like, who are you, Khalid? And that leads me to where I am today, where I'm confronted with my sickness with my wife. Right? Of course, in the Sufi path, even in Tariqah, the condition is like, if you can do Jama'ah together, it will be good. But you are confronted with near-death experience, and also fragility, that means you're weak, your sickness. And if you know, my sugar withdrawal was the worst. And I thank Allah for that moment where I know Syahmie and how He nurtured my soul through my own struggle. At that point in time, it's like boom, the whole world kind of collapse, you know. And then you will say like, and I'm not angry like if people can't visit me. I'm not angry where people can't be there for me. But of course, alhamdulillah, I have a blessed wife who support me spiritually, mentally, emotionally. That is also important lah. Kan? So people do not know the struggle where people feel like macam sekarang kan you have like geng subuh, which is good. But what if you cannot? What if you are sick? Then you feel deprived. Like what we went through, me and my wife, we went through Ramadan, where we can't even the COVID was heaven now, because she's introvert, right? So I okay also lah. I'm also okay because I'm beginning to be like, okay, I don't want to be with people so lah. I can be with people, but after that I say I don't want. I just want, you know. Yeah. But then I begin to realize when we fall sick the last year before the pandemic end, that was the biggest thing. Like we cannot go to Tarawih at the mosque, which happened for many years. We cannot go solat raya also because of our condition. And even zikir, majlis zikir, even you know I cannot attend majlis zikir every week now like I used to, and I never miss. But Allah tests, right? And that's where you feel the presence of Him through your struggle. And I feel that people don't understand loneliness because they keep looking at their emotions to feel something is there. Isn't it? Do you think so, Hanis?
Yeah, but I do have a question for you. Like, how do you view like your loneliness positively? Like you say like you used to go majlis, and then one day you cannot. Same goes to for like some mothers out there. No, they frequently. Yeah. So like, how do they like, you know, not feel deprived and look at that positively?
I think this is where the expectation comes in, and the biggest challenges in our life is expectation in everything, in ibadah, in work, with family, with friends, with ourselves. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the spiritual guide that I met, the ulama, the scholars, who nurture me to understand how to find that balance. Like Allah Raham, Syekh Zakaria Bagharib, he ever said like, even if you fall today, know that Allah is the one who rise you up, because He is the one who give you life. He is the one who give you the breath. He is the one who give you the ability. Right. So from there, it is a gradual training. Meeting different scholars to learn. But I feel after my sickness and all that, right, I feel that many of us felt different reality of loneliness because of what we experienced when we were child. When we do not know about our emotion turmoil, we do not know about our nerves, we do not know about what is our spiritual state. So we technically look for things to feel secure. Like social media is like, okay, you do this, you will not feel anything, right? But in actual sense, it is false. So you need to nurture your soul. You need to be with people like me lah. Alhamdulillah, I have my wife. When I was struggling, and she always said like, don't worry, keep on traveling. That's what Syahmie always says. Coming back to that, right? When I was in Madinah Bay, the year that I had near-death experience after the ziarah, we both couldn't attend the majlis wazifa at the mosque in Ramadan, and it's Ramadan. It could be another topic which is very interesting, right? We couldn't after I think the third or fourth day, because both of us fall sick. Because that time Ramadan was in June, it was intense. The heat there is like no joke. 50 degrees and all that. And I had this thing called what, ketosis. Is it? Ketosis, diabetic. I never take care of my health, so that's the problem. So we both missed the majlis until the day that we left. And when I asked Syahmie, sorry, I couldn't attend the Tarawih. The Tarawih is at night, around 11. So you have time. Different life lah, you understand. So he said, it's okay. Allah give the believer sickness so that they can forgive them completely. So at one moment also, when I was listening, they were reading the wazifa at the mosque. I almost cry. I was like, I feel wasted that I'm here, that I'm not able to attend the majlis. Am I deprived spiritually? But that was also another turning point in my life when I came back. It's like all these awliya, they nurture our soul to a point where we begin to realize that wherever we are, Allah is with us. And that's what Syekh Ibrahim said. Nurturing the soul. And this is where people don't understand how to nurture the soul. Because of materialism. Because we look outwardly. We look material, like, especially today lah. That's the sad part because of social media, right? When you look at the celebrity, or you look at the influencer, or even normal friends lah. When you look like, they got so many friends. They go to Paris, or they go to Thailand, for example, or Krabi, or they go to Jakarta. They, do whatever they want, and you thought that they are happy. So it mold you to a point where you feel like, why I cannot do this? But you don't realize that they are able to do that because Allah give them the capability, the capacity. So I felt it has to go with your soul also. You need to know that you have a soul. Like what Syekh Ar-Rayham Syekh Nazim, he said, today people define themselves with material. The value of themselves is material, not their soul. What do you think, Non?
I mean, I agree lah. Like the importance of going back to the soul and understanding. Even the fact that when we die, right, no matter whether we have children or we have family, they cannot be there for us. You get what I mean? When after we pass away, so what the question is, what is it that can help us? And that is where we try to think, because we feel we are always we always see what is in front of us, but we don't see what is beyond. Like we see, okay, people have family, they are safe. Because I think recently I actually found that a lot of people were saying like they are afraid of dying alone, especially those who are single and they don't have children, and then basically they live alone, so they are afraid that they are going to die and then nobody will
Be there
be there for them. And that's a real fear in many Singaporeans nowadays because of the condition of our lives. But then the reality is that even those who have family, there's no guarantee that their children will be there for them when they die.
That's true.
And a lot of different factors can happen, Whereas a person who may be alone, like living alone, there might be a lot of people who actually, take care of them after their death. And this is part of Allah's mercy that sometimes we don't think about. Like, we only think of what is likely going to happen, but we don't see that Allah works in many different ways. And there's no guarantee that just because you have a lot of family or friends that when you die everybody will be there for you. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's true. And when she talked about that, right, it reminded me of Habib Ali. Habib Ali bin Ja'far Ali Idrus, a wali that I met earlier in my spiritual path. Do you know that Habib Ali lived alone in his home? And his wife had passed on long time ago. And he didn't even get married. I think his wife passed away early, I can't remember exactly, maybe late 70s or early 80s. And that was when I first met him was 2002, after my father passed away. Right? So I'm all like, this is someone who loved to hang out in town. Last time where got social media, where got Friendster. I mean, that was the beginning lah, but he wasn't. I mean, I wasn't even into internet because I don't like it lah. Like they got alamak chat lah, apa lah. But I never into it lah. Right? So the only thing I had later on was MSN lah. Even then also it was common friend, like friend you know.
Friend,
It's not like social media where you can randomly know a stranger and become a friend, like us lah. Like us.
Yeah.
But Habib Ali, I was awed at how he can be alone. But of course, sometimes his son will come to visit him, or his grandson or grandchildren, or even some others who really khidmah to him lah. I know some people khidmah to him. So that is something where we should learn. But I felt right, the biggest challenge also for today is people don't realize why they cannot be alone is because they are unable to let go a lot of things. You find it difficult to let go a lot of things in your life. Your children, your career, even yourself. I could have done this. I should have done that. I felt that my life would be better. Right. So this is something which I said just now. One of the reasons why spirituality in Islam, like Sufism, is so important, because we diagnose it with our soul, with proper guidance, of course. And it's not like the self-help thing where people make you feel that you need to be somebody. You have to be somebody. Oh, I have career. Oh, I have this. I have that. But like what? When I learned from Syahmie, is like what happened is like, what when Allah, I mean Shibuna Ta'ala also said that, right? Will you love Allah? Right? Like you claim to love Allah when Allah take everything that you love. And we are facing it right now. And the serious part in this situation, because it's so intense with materialistic system and view and life, is that people are holding on to something that they don't realize that it's not permanent. And this is what I experienced now. Before lah, long time ago. Right? And that's why I said, like, if you learn and understand the life of the awliya, then you look like life can never be perfect. So today people want everything to be perfect. Their children, their career, their wealth, their home, everything. And it's a meltdown because there's nothing that is permanent in life. Isn't it? So your biggest struggle right now is your nafs. That's why the awliya give us a beautiful knowledge in trying to make us understand that you will fall. You will definitely fall. You cannot sustain your own self by your own self. Your success, your career is nothing. It's just a phase. So this is where people are trying to hold on, but they're losing out. May Allah ease all of us. It's not easy, right? Yeah. So coming to that also is like people need to istihara whether they can find a good companionship. Syahmie taught me also. He said, everything that you do in your life, you need to istihara. And even for companionship. Because what kind of companionship you looking for? Someone who is able to make you understand your turmoil and say that you are fine, this is part of your journey. Go slowly, take one step. Or you find a friend who don't recognize you have anything good, even though they are in religious circle. So everybody wants to find someone who is great lah, I would say. Right? Oh, this person is this, that person is this. So you still feel deprived. Isn't it? Whereas when you really walk on the path of the Arifin, you begin to realize that they make you know nothing is deprived from Allah because everything is Allah. Even your ibadah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Even your ibadah, because you begin to see like, okay, I may not be as good as Hanis. Hanis can speak Arabic, can read Quran, but I know that I have a personal relationship with Allah. He never deprived me of Himself. I think that is something that we need to nurture, isn't it?
So speaking about nurturing, right? So do you have any advice for our viewers? You know, like how do we nurture our mind and soul to be content with being alone?
I think it is a process. It's not like something you can do overnight. It's also, I mean, even in Islam, the more you do like a certain zikir, the faster you get at it. So it's the same process. So you train yourself, not just being alone, but not to be alone and then do stupid things, but actually to be alone and do something good. Whatever it is that is good lah, whether it's reflection or whether it's zikir, or if you like to read Quran, then it's reading Quran. So always put aside some time for that, because that's what your soul needs. It's not okay if you are alone then you watch Netflix. I mean, that's okay, but then that's not something for your soul lah. Because your soul needs something else. So by being alone, that's why I say, like, for some people, right, they are in a bad state and then after that they want to go alone to watch a horror movie. I always say it's not a good idea, because that will affect your state lah. So that's not something I advise. So when you are alone, you practice being alone, do something positive, or even reflection is good, because reflection is actually part of Islam and part of the spiritual process, no? So whatever it is, or if you enjoy reading a book, like informative books, positive books, then do that. So I think it's a practice. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I think that is also part of like what Syahmie was teaching us that day at Luxembourg. Like he was saying, like suddenly we stop and then we do. So in a way, I was looking back at it, I felt like he was like trying to say, like, okay, you can be in a crowd, but you are with Allah, no? You are thinking. So that practice is important.
I think it's always, I felt lah kan, it is the turning point. Again, I mentioned the turning point so many times because that's how my life changes. So like what my wife was saying, it's a process. It's a gradual growth lah. And it's important what you're looking for. And how you understand what you're looking for. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the awliya that I met. Because uniquely they all teach me a different sciences when it comes to myself and my soul. When I mentioned about the near-death experience just now, kan, and my near-death experience was completely changed me to a point where you need to let go a lot of things in life. And if you don't, then that is also something that disturbs you, because it's a form of attachment. Attachment in a sense of things that you don't see. Right? So that's why the beauty of the zikir in any Sufi path or tariqah is that the whole process of doing it every day, right, is to make us conscious of who we are because of our inward state. Like what you're holding on to. Like example, like La ilaha illallah. Why are you doing La ilaha illallah? Normal people when they see, oh, you zikir La ilaha illallah, right? Oh, La ilaha illallah, okay lah, nothing. Then they argued about dalil and all that. But the reality, if you learn from the ulama, Sufi ulama, like Syekh Ibrahim Nias, or Syekh Ahmad Tijani, or any other awliya, they will tell you the beauty and the sciences of that La ilaha illallah. So that you begin to realize that you yourself belongs to Allah. We all know, technically we all know, we are from Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. But spiritually, we have that understanding. But nurturing that soul, which I always been talking, is something different that need to unpack. People need to learn how to let go. If they don't, then so many things that they are holding on. And we always have this misunderstanding in this age with the self-help thing is like resilient.
Let go, let God.
Yeah, like resilient is to endure in a way that you persist until you successful. But what is all this in reality? Some things are meant for you, some things are not meant for you. So this, I begin to realize that why people feel lonely also because they feel deprived. And this deprivation need to nurture in a way that you begin to realize like, okay, actually right, this is not for me. Okay, I can be alone. Like what Habib Ali went. My mother went through that. Right? It's like, okay, I can be alone because now, the interesting part, I forgot to mention earlier. The interesting part about my mother was that she began to be like this after she regained consciousness 2 months of coma. And we thought that we had lost her. We thought that we had lost her because, you know, you coma and ICU, I was crying and all that. Like, at that time I was way younger. And my father was still alive. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made my mother as my first spiritual teacher to teach me about loneliness. After she woke up, she was so like totally divine. I mean, when I say totally divine, it's like every night she wake up for tahajud. Every night she will do zikir Ya Latif and all that. And it's just Ya Latif. And today I learned from a lot of scholars, Sufi scholars, how impactful and profound this Ya Latif is. Even though it's simple, you don't. That's why I say common people, the people of dunia, they say like, "Alah, nothing, wah, Ya Latif, Ya Latif." You don't do anything. That's why it's not about not doing anything. It's about changing your state and realizing that whatever you can do is still from Allah, and whatever that you cannot do, it is from Allah, and that fills the void. But once you enter this spiritual, nurturing your soul and the spiritual state, then that's where sometimes you still feel that loneliness, correct? Why? Because Allah says, I yearn for you and I want you for myself. Isn't it? That changes later on. It's not now. Now you struggle. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, to know the self is to know Allah. And so it's a journey, like what my wife said. Don't give up. But important is to istihara for good companionship that understand our soul, our deficiency, our nafs lah. Kan? We are not perfect. So we watch TV like, oh, these are happy people. How you know you're happy?
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we saw people who travel around the world and they are not happy. So we are become more like apa? Literal way of understanding life. This is where the devoid of the soul, kan? Correct. Yeah. So anything else you want to add? Hanis, what you say as a young man then? As a young man after this podcast interview on loneliness, yeah, your essential view as a young man out there, all of the young people. I'm not young. People will say, but you are 47 already. We are 27. No.
You know, that time I saw a post by Denzel Washington. He was saying that, you know, in the past, you only need to be liked by your family members, but now you want to be liked by all your followers.
Oh,
So that itself means, right now we're living in an era whereby it's hard to be alone. You know, you have to be liked by people. You need to show your perfect life online. Acceptance, validation. So I feel that loneliness is a need right now. You know, to detach from all that, to understand your journey, your personal journey with Allah. Yeah, to slowly nurture that, to realize the reality of things. Yeah.
insyaAllah. Beautiful. So Alhamdulillah, I think we have talked so much. I'd like to thank both of my guests, Hanis and my wife, Ainun. And we hope that we had benefited you in understanding your own journey. Everybody has their own journey lah. Right? That's why the danger in social media is like you try to follow someone not knowing the process. Right? And even if you look today, people do yoga, people trying to do meditation, because they want to see the reality of who they are. But alhamdulillah, we have Islam. We have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the missing link today, right? Isn't it? And what does the pandemic taught us? That happiness, contentment is all an inside job. That means it's within you. So we pray that this podcast is beneficial for everyone who listen to it, and may Allah accept it. And we are looking forward to the future podcast with all of you again. And follow us on our Spotify and our YouTube under Sout Ilaahi. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to Real Talk with Khalid Ajmain. See you, insyaAllah, in the future. Assalamualaikum. Peace be upon you.
Salam.